It says we're live.
We're live with technical difficulties.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fun time.
Oh boy. Wow. That was a fiasco and a half.
I did it though.
You did it. You definitely did it.
You did
It
it.
was right on the half hour mark, so we'll just roll till whatever.
Yep.
Hey, it's okay.
Yep.
We could do the hour. It's no big deal. We're good. We'll just go a half an hour later.
There must be a lesson in flexibility in this.
Definitely.
Oh, I hope everybody.
All right. Well,
Deep breath. It's all good. We're all here. We'll live to tell about it.
We're all breathing. We all got a story to tell. So, that's life, right? Just another chapter in the book of life. So, how you doing, Ken and Rachel?
Doing great. How are you doing?
Speak English much?
Good. I received a lot of information this morning that cleared up a lot for me, and I got a new shopping list, which explains a lot. And I'm really excited to get back out there Saturday and go hang out with my mountain folk. So.
All right. Well, I had a question a half hour ago. I think I remember it now. All right. Everybody likes to tell their initial aha moment of their realization of seeing something or when they became interested or whatever. We're already past that with you.
Yeah.
What was the day or the moment that you made that shift from being I want to believe and I think it's there to I know?
That would be the night I had my sighting in northern Idaho in my father-in-law's backyard. He lives in northern Idaho, out in the sticks. I have no cell phone service out there, nothing. He's an hour away from the Canadian border, basically.
That was the town called Paradise, right?
No. No. Paradise is up north in Northern California. But every night we were there, I think, for 3 weeks. And on the 14th night, every night I'd go out. My wife would go to sleep, and I'd go. He has a deck. It's a 2-story house, and the bottom story is sunk halfway into the ground. So the deck is, 7 feet off the ground from where I'm standing. I got a duck underneath one of the beams. But go out there every night. I take my flashlight and I would scan around, looking. And I had gone in. My batteries and my flashlight were dying. I changed out my batteries. My wife said, how's it going out there? And I said, quiet. I walked out there. I started on my left and scanned around. I got just to the right of the barn and saw these huge white eye shine. And I had my night vision that he had given me sitting right there, and I immediately just pulled up the night vision with the flashlight on it, and I could see the outline of it. And I could see a little stick sticking off of the tree that was just above where the eyes were. And I went out and I measured that stick that next morning, and it was at 8 feet. So I'm assuming that's where the eyes was at 8 feet. So to the top of the head, I'm assuming maybe 8.5 feet tall.
Right.
And this was 2 trees that had grown together at the bottom, but then branched out into a V. And I measured that too, and I could see both sides of this being on either side of that tree. And from my estimation and my measuring, it was over 4 feet wide.
At the shoulder.
That sounds
yeah.
right.
At the shoulders, yes, because those trees were at least 3 feet wide. And I could see it on both sides, a good 6 inches. And
Yeah.
it froze. It literally froze. I saw it do this number. It turned and it kind of put its arm up a little bit. And it stood there for the entire time. I had the flashlight on it, and I'm sitting there thinking, you gotta be kidding me. You gotta be kidding me. Holy crap, you gotta be kidding me.
Mhm.
Are you freaking serious? Am I looking at this right now? And I got, all of a sudden, I got this overwhelming feeling that it's had enough. I need to turn the flashlight off and let it go. Otherwise, something bad is going to happen. That was just the feeling I got.
Mm-hmm.
And it was probably 75 yards from me, maybe less. Probably between 60 and 75 yards. I didn't measure the yardage, but it's not far. And
Excuse me.
I had turned the flashlight off without taking the night vision from my face, and it was just a flash. As soon as that light turned off, it was a flash. It went up the hill. I heard the dogs next door barking a half mile away. I heard a big branch break, and I found that branch that was broken. It was a log that had gone across the trail. It was a game trail, and the branch had come up. And I had walked that game trail, and I was like, I remember that branch distinctly because I'm like, I should break this branch just to make it easier for me to pass. And I thought to myself, no, I'm going to leave it. Something told me not to break that branch. So I heard the dogs barking. I heard the branch break. And then probably 3 seconds later, half mile away, kaboom! Big shotgun blast. That was at 10 o'clock at night. So the shotgun blast, I'm assuming, was someone who knew about them and has probably had problems with them in the past, was sitting on their porch. The one I saw ran across the property and he blew off a warning shot.
Yeah.
And the people in Idaho are weird about it.
They know about it. They don't want to tell you that they know about it, and they just kind of treat it like, you know, the little redheaded stepchild that they don't want to talk about.
You got it. You nailed it right on the head. That's
Well,
it.
maybe they're afraid to draw them by talking about them. Some traditions are kind of strange, you know.
Right. My wife has made it a point that almost everything I wear has something to do with Bigfoot, and I'm finding it hard in my wardrobe for work not to wear
That includes your
anything
cousin's
Bigfoot
slippers?
related. And but when we go up there, I wear Bigfoot stuff, you know, just because I've realized that it's a good way to open the door of conversation without actually coming out and saying, "Hey, do you believe in Bigfoot?"
Right.
Like an idiot, you know what I mean? And we were standing in the line of the local supermarket there. It's a small little supermarket. It's a tiny little town, only a couple thousand people spread out throughout miles and miles of, you know, land. And I'm standing there, and the cashier looks at me and looks at my shirt, says, "I like your shirt." And I'm all, "Yeah? Got any stories?" And she immediately clammed up. It was just ring it through, get paid, and get out.
Yeah.
So
And
right
what?
there, her reaction right there told me they know all about them.
Yeah.
They just don't want to talk about it. They're not going to talk about it, you know. And then shortly after that trip, I had someone from Coeur d'Alene contact me, who has a Sasquatch group up there, and they wanted to know where my experience was and all that. And I said, "Not going to tell you. It's my father-in-law's property. private property. You don't need to know. Besides that, he'll shoot you if you don't know yet.
Right.
So, you know, but they
Protecting
hang
you
out
and-
there. They hang out there. We've gone up there for 5 years straight. They don't move. And this last trip we did last year was absolutely phenomenal. They recognize my wife's car now. They recognize me and my wife and the 2 dogs. It's always the same car. It's always the same people. It's the dogs that get out. And as soon as I got the overwhelming feeling I'm being watched. Not from just one direction. It was all around me. It was so overwhelming. I finally had to go out there and say, hey, this is too much for me right now. I just spent 12 hours in a car. I'm going to drive the car around and unload in the garage. And that's what I did. I opened up the garage. I backed the car up. I unloaded all of our stuff. And as soon as I got around to the garage, that whole feeling stopped.
Yeah.
Um,
They just wanted to see who was pulling up and make sure it was what they thought.
right. The previous year, I had gone out into the front little half acre in their front yard, cleaned up all the down trees and everything. It was spotless. I was out there with a tractor, chainsaw. We had a bonfire that burned for 9 days. That's how much wood I chopped up and moved to the burn pile, the over by the barn. And this last year, there was all new stuff broken. And
We had a really weird thing this morning, when we first started going into this experience in our woods. The trees were very close in the path. And then all of a sudden, after, I don't know, 3 or 4 months, maybe a little more, it just felt wide open, like half of the trees had disappeared. How about we walk in there this morning, and it just felt like there were
claustrophobic.
all these extra trees. I'm
Right.
like, where did you come from? Ken noticed it. I noticed it. And it was so weird.
You know what? I've had the same feeling in Fletch's area, a place I call the Apple Stand. Now is now called Fletch's Spot because I had to designate Handsome Feller his own area
Give
with his own
everybody-
trees.
Him?
Him,
So,
yeah, him.
let's talk about yesterday. You had a pretty decent grumble, grunt, growl.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking I saw Fletch peeking out at you.
That's him.
Yeah, right at his spot. That would be right in his spot. And I saw it. I saw him. Right as I walked by, I saw him. He was only 4 feet away from me. I mean, I could see him. His favorite tactic is the belly crawl.
Mm.
He loves to get low and get under the bushes. So while people are looking up, well, he's sitting right there staring at you.
We've
I
had
have
a couple of them try that, yeah. But we
I
don't
have
look for
several
it, so-
pictures of him doing that. And
He's got this weird little nose that kind of comes out a little bit.
yeah,
All
yeah.
of ours has that,
Be careful.
It's like a miniaturized baboon nose.
yeah.
There it is.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of like that.
he is the scariest looking and the most intimidating looking.
He
He's not
feels- he
he's
feels
tall.
The sweetest though out of your
yeah,
bunch.
he's tall,
Mhm.
but he's not massive. He's cut. He's like a bodybuilder, you know?
And it was the weirdest thing today after watching your video and you finding those apples. And I'm lying to you not. Mercy would not leave me alone about him or about those apples. And I thought, I have got to call SoCal because it's gonna be a long day at this rate.
Yeah. The green apples are a bad choice and they will not be taken out there anymore.
Now ours will eat
Anything.
They don't care. So I wouldn't have thought of it,
Yeah. Like I said, you gave me a new shopping list. And
It's enough to have our people in my head. I don't need your people in my head.
Sorry, I don't. I don't know what to tell you, but as soon
Mercy
as
was so
I
funny.
can
I mean,
get
she was
that
cracking
clarity
me up.
enough for her to be in my head, we're set. I need to get that clarity to where she can come through to me. You know what I mean?
She's
But
much more regally minded than I first thought. I mean,
she's a princess. She's a princess. I don't know what to. I mean, all the rocks I put out there.
Yeah.
All the rocks I put out there, I put out the blue ones, the blue marbles. I put out the seafoam green rocks. I put out the orange ones, and I put out the pink ones. And every time the pink and the orange or the pink rock and the blue marble disappear. Every time.
I just had this horrible thought. I was making a joke in my head to go to the dollar store and get her one of those little plastic tiaras.
Oh, no, please.
You know what's funny is right when I hung up the phone with Rachel this morning, I said, I got to go to the 99-cent store. I will. I mean, my wife and Lewis and stuff, they joke around now. They call her my mountain girlfriend. I don't mind. I love it. You know what I mean? But
she is not about handsome fella, and he is all about her. And I'm telling you,
yeah.
If push comes to shove, Mercy's going to knock him on his butt. She is not going to keep putting up with him.
Right. And I'm afraid that if that happens, he may come towards me. But I don't think Mercy or even Fletch, for that matter, would let that happen.
No, I don't feel like it's issues with you.
No, it's just typical.
But I haven't experienced that kind of energy with them before. But the way she was about him, I mean, she just
him.
Yeah. She did not even want to mention his name or what you call him.
We'll put this into perspective. Let's imagine that she's the varsity cheerleader and he's the dorky freshman.
Exactly.
Him.
Yeah.
She's just not as amused with him as we are.
Right. So.
Makes you feel bad for him,
He kind of
you know what? I can relate because when I was in high school, I was the same way. I can relate absolutely 100%. And I hung up with Rachel and I just started thinking, hey, big guy, you're coming on too strong and that's your problem. You're coming on too strong.
So
you just gotta let it
be nice, and she's like, "Trust me, I'm being nice."
Yeah.
I mean, her personality is above board. I mean, she's full of life.
Yeah.
Hey, somebody's got a question for you. Here's a good question from Scott, Bigfoot Explorer. He says, "Leave them rocks with drawings on them and see if they return with the drawings." That's a good idea.
I tried taking a script, like a waterproof marker, paper out there, and I had drawn, a couple of stick figures and a figure for Bigfoot and a heart and just stuff.
I remember that.
Recognize or associate. Well, the paper disappeared, the marker disappeared, but I was feeling like they didn't like, the marker. I got to thinking later has a chemical smell.
Right.
And so I'm thinking that was the aversion to using it. They didn't trust that smell. And I don't blame them when I think about it now.
Yeah, those markers can stink pretty bad.
Yeah.
Here's a good idea. Like when you do a fire, take a stick and burn the end of the stick and let it be black and see if they draw that on the paper. Mm-hmm. That's natural.
Or get a charcoal.
See, that was something I was going to bring up when you were talking about all of the wood and the 8-9 days fire that you burned off. We've never had them have any aversion to being around the campfire. It's almost like it's a dinner bell for them.
Oh.
Hey, you know what's funny is after that fire burned down, that following morning when it was still smoldering but not flaming, there were footprints all around the fire, 3 different sizes. We had a little 8-inch one, we had a 13-inch one, and we had a 19-inch one.
Yeah, we get a lot right here. I mean, just right here
Like
at the
if I'll
house. Mm-hmm.
rake up leaves and limbs in the yard and burn them off, the next day you'll see all around the edge of that where they've walked back and forth through there.
Right.
Might be looking, well, what do you normally do when you're camping out and cooking out and say you eat a piece of chicken and you sling the bone or something? They're looking for leftovers.
Right. Exactly. So I'm definitely going to take her tiara next weekend. That's for sure, because she is a total princess.
You're on your own. I'm not catering to this.
I don't doubt we get a picture of her and we see a tiara on it. You know what I mean? So,
I was trying to decide if she was related to Anku because he had presented her the first time, which was a strange experience that I had really not had.
When I first asked you, is it even possible for you to communicate with the ones in my area?
And with both of them being red, I thought, well, maybe somehow they're related or something, because her personality, her sense of humor is almost identical to his, but she's definitely more full of it as far as her demeanor.
Yeah, she's a chatty Gabby, that's for sure.
Yeah, that just cracked me up.
So Mrs. SoCal, she likes to camp, and obviously she's interested in the same thing. Has she had her own personal sightings or experiences or hearing the knocks or the grunts or any of that?
No, unfortunately, she can't get really out into the woods to do a whole lot of hiking because she's got really bad knees and she has to have surgeries on both of them. She could barely handle a day's worth of work, and she comes home and she's got ice on her knees. We went out with camping recently, and with Sasquatch Omega, he's actually in the chat. We found those structures, and we started looking at the structures, and there was not a cut piece of wood on it. It was all broken. We had ended up going down into that structure area to find out was a search and rescue training camp that hadn't been used in 2 years. There was a billboard up there, and it said schedule of events, and the last date on it was January of 2018. So it hadn't been used in a long time. There was a tractor there covered in dust, flat tires, no power, no water. So we ended up going down to this tree line, and we knew that there was a small little creek down there because of the way the trees were growing and stuff, and we're walking down the tree line, and we just seen impressions everywhere. And all of a sudden, Dave, Sasquatch, and me, and we hear something walking in the water, and he creeps down there and stuff like that, and I see this flash go just the top of it, go from bush to bush. It was gray and black, and I saw it. It went over there, and shortly after that, apparently I had gotten it on camera. Max Power sent me still shots of that video, and you could see movement. I mean, it's a typical. You see its arms, you could see its legs. It's barrel chested, and at the same time that we were having these sounds of walking in the water and stuff like that, we had decided to go back at night to the structures. Now, we were there during the day, and we were fine. There was no atmosphere. There was no nothing. It was just we were there. We found them, Went back at night, and it felt like we shouldn't be there. I got the immediate feeling we shouldn't be there. And I had my FLIR. I had the night vision. And we had some odd anomalies on the FLIR that were just really bright white. And 11 o'clock at night, all that stuff should have cooled off by then. You know what I mean? And it was almost like the shoulder part and the hip of something behind a tree. And Dave's like, no, I want to check it out. I want to check it out. And it got to a point to where the feeling in me was, no, we need to leave now. We need to go. We need to get out now.
You can't mistake that feeling.
It puts off that air, and you just know it. You can almost smell.
Yeah.
You know,
and Dave's like, okay, we'll go. And we didn't go out the way we came in. For some reason, I deviated from that. And I was looking to my left with my camera, and you could see the right eye of something peeking around the tree, and then the left eye of something peeking around a tree. And we hightailed it right up to the flat spot, got back to the camp. My wife was sitting there at the fire by herself, and we're sitting there talking about it, and all of a sudden we hear like something had been thrown through the trees. It wasn't a pine cone falling, you know. It was like something had been thrown with force through several trees.
Mm-hmm.
And even my wife was like, oh, did you hear that? Yeah, it sounded like something got thrown.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we only had one night visit where we had that feeling, and I think there was some kind of it felt like
powwow. That was the powwow night.
Yeah, it was like a get together or something.
Right.
And they weren't hateful about it, and we had weird audio on that. You know, they weren't hateful about it, but
It's
the same thing. We went
like
out a different way than we came in. It was like we were being escorted. I lied to you.
Yeah.
That was the weirdest thing.
Yeah, it was the same way here. It was almost like we were being funneled into a certain area to go leave. It wasn't the way we came in. And so we're sitting there at the fire. We heard it, you know, come through the trees. A couple minutes later, our fire's here. Our family and stuff that we went with is over here. And directly behind it, in line to where we couldn't see, we hear snap. Big branch break. And we're looking at each other. You hear that? Yeah, it was a big branch break. Well, the next morning, there was a big stump of a tree that had been cut with chainsaw, and there was a rock on it. And that rock wasn't there the previous day. So, you know, it just, I don't.
Something new to see if you're looking. You know,
right.
The attention to detail. I think our attention to detail has definitely grown.
Absolutely, you know, absolutely. I think once you get into the subject and you start figuring out the little nuances and the little things that they do, it's almost like a neon sign, you know, once you figure it out. But it just, wow, look at this, you know.
I just realized that on our computer monitor, the chat stream wasn't up, so I was turning it on the phone. I know we've probably missed a lot of questions. Sorry, but we weren't seeing it on our screen to even look.
Yeah, I'm doing it from my phone.
And on the right side of your screen at the top of the chat, it says private, and then it says comments.
Mm-hmm.
You got to click on comments. And that should bring up the chat.
Gotcha.
There it is.
Yeah.
So, here's a question for thought for all y'all. Have y'all ever been out in the woods? And if you, like me, I'm empathic. I feel things, see things, know things. Have you ever came across a bad vibe where it was like dreaded?
I've been in an area that I felt that they just wanted to rip my head off, and my wife forbid me to go back to that area. It was a place that I lost a very expensive 360 game cam. That was an area where they found 2 dead bodies directly in the middle of the area I was in. I don't think it had to do with Sasquatch. I think it was something else.
I think most of the bad vibes we've gotten have been external. I don't think it's been, well, as if Sasquatch is internal, but I don't feel that it was them specifically. But other You know, there's so many where we're at. There's so many portals, so many dimensional doorways that things have a tendency to kind of, and really all woods or forestry can be that way.
Yeah.
A lot of it has to do with the magnetism of the earth, and if there's a lot of certain kinds of stone or if they're near certain ley lines or things like this, it all adds up. But you know, I think once they started, we noticed more glyphs, and we noticed more protective glyphs as they were shown to us. You know, the tridents, certain tridents, certain asterisks, certain things that Anku was walking us through and showing us what meant what, because we asked. I mean, they're actually, if you get the right group of people, they're actually, you know, a good teacher. They're really open. They love knowledge.
Yeah. Yeah.
He really likes to teach, but he's not here all the time. So some of it we've had to learn and take advantage of him when we can. Some of it we instinctually get, like you, Christy, you know, where you kind of just feel what it is. But
well, yeah, I've experienced many more things, but that's later to come.
But there's been a few weird things pass through there. There was about a 2-week period once. It was all wrong back there.
It just felt like they wanted to keep us out of the space so they could deal with whatever was going on.
Yeah, it felt like it was more for our protection, not a refusal or a rejection. But, and there again, we really felt Anku saying, you don't need to be here right now. You don't want to be here right now. We have to deal with this. And it felt like it was threatening their home. And they didn't want us getting caught in the crossfire like we did with the orb. You know, he protected us. He did his job, but then it took me 2 weeks to get him back into our energetic field because he was so sure he had hurt Kim by his actions to protect Kim.
Yeah.
And, you know, he's all too aware of energy fields and how they play together. And he was holding himself accountable, even if the thing that he was guarding us against was responsible. He bore accountability for it. And he was just not willing to take that chance again. And I'm like, trust me when I tell you, you need to get your butt back here because we're fine, you know. But his little heart was just broken.
That orb was pretty intense.
I haven't ever told anybody about this story except for Rachel, and this was 3.5, 4 years ago. She had worked a management position, and we were at the time just right on the state line of Texas and Louisiana, right on the Sabine River. And what was that, right around, trying to remember the month that happened in, it was cooler, so it had to have been October or November.
Mm-hmm.
But I went to the river to fish, and the little spot that I pulled the truck into, you could pull and park and then walk maybe 50 or 60 yards through just a wooded lane with thick swampy woods and brush on either side of it. And I think that was the most terrified feeling. After I was there for about an hour and a half fishing, you could feel this something creep up onto the back of you, just like it was, you know, over the top of you like this, pressing down and just. And
those swamp areas, I guess it wouldn't be fair for me to say all of them, but the swamp areas can be a real trick for energy.
I'm not blaming that on Sasquatch. I'm just telling you that was probably one of the worst ominous feelings that I've ever experienced personally out in the woods, was that night fishing on the Sabine River. And I know that there was a lot of activity all the way through there for all kinds of, you know, Bigfoot activity up and down through that. You know.
Yeah. I've heard several accounts about Sabine River, and I don't think any of them were nice.
Yeah, that's where the Sabine thing's at. That's not a good.
get used to the alligators and all of that, you become kind of familiar with their croaking and clicking and their eye shine in the water. So you kind of know what's what with that. And whatever this was that came moving up through there, it was in a spectral, it wasn't physical. You could just feel the spectral energy of it. It was pretty nasty.
Yeah. Yeah. It was
Hurricane Harvey. And again, no different than right now. The vibration of that area was very negative because a lot of people suffered with Harvey. I mean, we got enough water to run Niagara Falls for what they say, 10 or 15 days.
Right.
You look out, there were no treetops. We were looking at the ocean again, and we just moved from the ocean. It was like, and everybody was just distraught, had nowhere to go. I mean, it was horrible. So vibrationally speaking, I think that kind of opens doors to lots of things.
But I think that's probably one of the most active areas that we had been in for, like, seeing just weird light stuff. Anomalies. Some people call it their swamp gas or whatever, but it just seemed like every night when you drive up and down through there, something was weird or something. You'd always catch a glimpse of it. It was kind of a creepy place in the nighttime.
It really was.
Yeah.
And we don't get freaked out easily. So if we say it's creepy, it's pretty creepy.
Yeah, especially all the stuff you've dealt with over the years. Yeah. If you say it's creepy, it's beyond creepy to the regular people. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I'd rather play with the alligators that are down there than I would.
Right. So, there's definitely other stuff out there, and I think a lot of that other stuff may mimic a Bigfoot.
Yeah.
And they get blamed for a lot of stuff that they don't do.
Nope.
I mean, there are different classes, it's like A, B, and C, or 1, 2, and 3, however you look at it. And we've been blessed because I feel like we got that A class as far as communication and concern. And we know that that's not the case for everybody. So we try really hard not to take that for granted. It becomes easy when you get used to it. We take advantage of our own family or take for granted our own family members and people that care about us. So it's human nature, I think.
Yeah, people like to get on this debate about, are they good? Are they evil? Are they mean? Are they nice? And we've said it, and you've said it. It's no different than people.
It's not.
You've got good ones. You've got bad ones. You've got a lot of them in between. And depending on how they're treated is how they're going to treat anything else.
Exactly.
And
that's their home. That is their home. That's where they live. You know what I mean? I wouldn't go into your house and disrespect you. That's just rude. That's just stupid. You wouldn't do the same to me. And I'm a firm believer, treat people how you want to be treated.
And even with us, you can treat someone with respect. And if they're not willing to receive it, they're not willing to receive it. I mean, they're either open to it or they're not. And we can't force them.
And usually it's because they've had some pretty bad experiences before you ever came into the picture.
Exactly.
Yep. Exactly.
Anka explained it like darkness. I mean, I'm hesitant to use the word evil, but darkness in general, for people and for them, it gets into the energy field and it's like a disease. It's like an illness to their energy. And so the ones that are violent or the ones that are negative, they're subject to the same trickery and deception with that energetic play that we are. So if nothing else, maybe we can empathize or sympathize with the fact that maybe they've been subjected to some things that have jaded them. People get jaded, they're people, I mean, and sometimes maybe that understanding and compassion alone might help them heal it. I don't know. I just know that more anger, putting gasoline on a fire isn't going to put the fire out.
Right. Right. I treat them like people,
And if they're being butts, I tell them we had a situation this morning where I think we've got a couple new ones, and I'm discerning where they're coming from. But they are not at all like what we're used to. And this was a mess, and that was a mess. And I thought, you know what? No.
And they're a lot larger too.
Yes. And I was really perturbed. And Ken said, well, they're Sasquatch. I said, I don't care. We don't treat this woods with disrespect. Our people, air quote, don't treat this woods with disrespect. We have it going on. We all are on the same page of the book. I don't care who they are. I don't care where they're from. They're not going to come in and start bullying these guys or treating this space with disrespect. Right. So it's time for Anku to come in and have a come to Jesus talk with him.
You're going to climb up on your step ladder and put
I'm going to climb on my step ladder. I'm going to bring out the mother finger and I'm going to say, get it right or go.
Right. And I mean, if that's what I got to do with Handsome Feller, I mean, I might have to bring out the father finger, stand up on a log and be like, look, buddy.
He's a little dense. I'm
chill out.
He's sick.
Yeah, he's a little dense. I'm going to keep it simple, chill out.
He doesn't take hints well. Yeah, you're going to have to be very specific because he does not take hints.
Right. But what's funny is Fletch is the most intimidating and the most scariest looking, but he is the most behaved. He is he just chills. He just watches, waits for me to bring his stuff, and when I leave, he goes gets it. There's no drama, no nothing. It just goes to show you, don't judge a book by its cover.
Oh, you've heard forever. Well, kind of ugly, but they got a great personality. There you go.
Right. So,
what color is his eyes, and what color is his skin, and how does he define the proportions of him? What does he look like? I know you said his nose stuck out weird or something.
He's got really black hair, really dark, blacker than black. I have a big clump of hair from someone sitting in an envelope right there. It's blacker than black. Handsome Feller and Fletch are really black. And their skin is almost a dark gray. Okay. And you can go on my channel and look. I got a picture of him up there.
Okay.
So that's how I found him. It was all by accident. It was
kind of looks like he's had a wax job on his skin. It's just that glossy look to him.
Right. Yeah, it was all by accident. I just got tired of sitting around the house. This coronavirus started. They had just shut down my trails, and I was pretty irritated about that. And screw this. I'm going up there. I don't care if the trails are shut down. I'm going. And I started doing the local mountain series. Yeah. I started doing this thing called the local mountain series. And I just going up to my local mountain and just walking around. And I started with what I call exit 1, which was the first exit on the freeway that I got off on to go to this area. And I started to notice that there was a trail next to the bush line, which was anywhere from 20 to 100 feet away from the main fire road. And I started to notice that people aren't walking on this trail. They only walk on the main fire road. So what's making this trail? And then I start noticing these hollowed out bushes. And if you look in it, you can see where the branches have been broken off the bottom part, and they've been leaned up on the inside.
Mm-hmm, making
like an igloo, And then I start noticing that they're in strategic places in a bend where they could see down both ways for a long ways, where trails converge. A lot of trails come together. And I found this big, huge barrel stuffed in a bush. It was probably 75, 100 years old, this barrel. It was rusting through on the bottom. That's how old it was. And I started thinking, well, this is weird. You know what I mean? There's something going on here. So then I went to exit 2, and same thing. I'm just walking down the bush line, and I could see the end of it coming up. Okay, well, the end's 100 yards away, and I come around a bush. I didn't run. I just moved to my left about 8 feet, pulled out my phone, started videotaping. And that was the video I put. Something growled at me at this spot. And I continued to videotape how the tops of this tree were broken down into this whole blind thing. And I had done a growl impression. And my growl impression in that video was probably 99% perfect of what I heard. And I didn't know it at the time because I didn't have a tripod then. So I was holding my phone like this in front of my face, trying to keep everything in frame. And of course, life gets a lot smaller on a 4-inch screen. So I didn't see it at the time, but apparently it was Fletch that growled at me and had moved back into the bushes and stood up and watched me. And when I did my growl impression, he ducked down. And came back up, slowly came back up. Well, I didn't see it until after I reviewed the video, and that's what I found that. And a few minutes later, after I found that, Bronzini Bigfoot sent me a picture of Handsome Feller 8 feet to my left, looking at me. Hey, what's it going on? You know?
That makes me think, when we did get growls, at the time Ken was still using his iPhone. It was more in front of his face. And since that time, we haven't gotten near as many. A few friendly grunts from, like, we think Junior, by the way it sounds.
He'll make just
but
a
no
short,
growls.
He'll make just a short.
And I think they don't. The way I feel it is that they don't like things in front of our face. They like to be able to see our eyes. And I think it has to do with our intention. That old saying, the eyes are the windows to the soul. I think they really, honestly, have special sight for a lot of things, not just that. But I think that their ability to see is far greater, and smell is so far greater than ours that we don't even conceive of what they pick up on.
Right. I think in my situation was, as they were used to people staying on the main roads and doing their thing, riding the bikes and walking their dogs and just walking around. No one goes off trail. And all of a sudden, here comes me around this bush. I scared the crap out of them. And I said it, I'd growl at me too if I scared the crap out of me. You know what I mean?
That's usually the way it happens the first time or second time out in a strange area, and you startle one because they're not used to anybody just popping up like that.
Right. And I mean, I've heard that growl before. I've heard it in Fawn Skin. That was the place where it felt like they wanted to rip my head off. I've heard it several times. I knew what that growl was, and I just thinking to myself, you got to be kidding me. I've spent thousands of hours logged in riding my mountain bike up there.
Right.
But it was before the Bigfoot bug. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, you know, and that was that. I've been going to that spot ever since. The next week I was shaking in my boots because I knew they were up there, and I'm going to where I saw them. And I had gone across the road to where I go now, which is what Fletch's area is. And I looked in a bush, and I could see these two butter yellow eyes just looking at me. I go, those look like eyes. And this is all on video. Those look like eyes. And then they blinked, and I went, holy crap, they blinked at me, and I bailed. I was like, that was, okay. I wasn't ready for that. I had gone back to that bush and looked, and you could see completely through it. It's completely hollow. Whatever it was that, whoever it was, I think it was probably the Handsome Feller because he's the bigger one. The whole body must have been 3 feet. It took up that entire space, and he was just laying there looking at me like, "What are you doing?" You know, and he blinked, and it just freaked me out. But I kept going back, and I kept going back, you know, and it was you guys that got me to taking them apples, you know. Yeah. It was, you guys do it all the time. I'm going, you know what? There's no reason why I shouldn't take them apples. And that's when I took them apples and then disappeared. I took them more apples, and they disappeared. And they disappeared. And I've proven what rodents do when they get food. They eat it on the spot, and they leave
debris. Yeah.
They leave debris. They leave cores. Okay. What's taking the apples? Well, I know what's taking the apples now, after I don't even remember how many months this has been, but it's just all by happen chance. And I think once they knew that I knew about them, I think Mercy took interest in me, and you explained this to me, that she had to argue with the males to interact with me, and they pretty much assigned her to me. But
like, here, you go deal with the hairless one. We're out of this.
Right. But if something happens, it's all done. You know what I mean?
The guy that you've got, the way that it felt was, even though he wasn't super interactive with you, he was remotely possessive of you in the regard of your familiarity and interaction toward him. So I think he was playing kind of a little bit of a spite war for a while. And when she didn't back down, then I think he earned a whole new level of respect for her and, kind of puppy love in that regard. And I think that's where the conflict is now, because she's just
not having it.
Nope.
Not having it.
It might change tomorrow. I don't know. Women are fickle. That's what they say.
But not this past Saturday, but the weekend before that, I was thinking, I give all of my attention to Mercy. I take her all the good treats, and I just give the boys apples. It's not fair. You know what I mean? So now I'm taking them all special stuff.
And that should help some too.
And I'm going to treat them all the same.
Mm-hmm.
And, that was just something I thought of that would make me feel better.
Just like kids, if one gets a cookie, they all get a cookie. If one gets a spanking, they all get a spanking.
You're right. Right. It's just not fair, and I was thinking about that. She's going, it's not fair. She gets all the attention. They haven't shown me any.
Yeah. If you're talking to her more, they pay attention to all that.
Oh, I know. Saturday, I went into Fletch's area, and I'm like, hey, Fletch, we're going to do things a little different. I know I haven't been paying too much attention to the guys, and I'm sorry for that. So from now on, this is your area, and I'm going to be bringing everybody their own stuff. So I hope that you can respect everybody else's areas, and I hope that they respect your area, you know what I mean, in the way of the gifting, in the way of the food. And I said that to all of them,
Right.
So hopefully there's a understanding. Well, for the most, I know Fletch probably understood it. I know Mercy understood it, but like you said, handsome feller, he's a little dense.
He's a little dense. Yeah.
He's a little dense, so we need to.
Got kicked by a moose.
Got kicked in the head by a moose or something.
I don't know.
But here's something that a lot of people probably don't stop to think about. We've had a lot of individuals ask us if we knew a good place to even start to try to look for signs or anything like that. And like your situation on the mountain exits, as soon as you got 40 or 50 yards off of the main trail, you started finding all the indication. Like here, if you go into the national forest or any of the wilderness wooded parks or anything, everybody stays on the road unless they're going to the lake or the pond or whatever, but primarily they're on the road. If you get 50, 60 yards in, you can tell what is a deer trail or a game trail, but then you'll see one side of the road or the other, there's a well-worn path that they use that is large enough for them to work their way through, and that's the perfect place because they like to watch the goings on. They want to see what's happening.
Yeah, they're right on the fringes. They're just far enough out of our sight, but not far enough to where they can't sit there and watch us all day long. And that's what they were doing.
Yeah, we were surprised at the forestry that we found glyphs and, some of the standing glyphs as well as the ground glyphs as close to the road as we did, but it was on one side of the road. And that's something over there at Falk. We noticed one side of the road would have more activity as far as sign than the other. And it was at least where we were at. So it was kind of...
Hey, I've noticed that too. The side where my group is, I could find signs all day long. The other side of the road,
Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. And it's funny too, because it's where the main trail comes in, it tees off, and then there's a single track trail that crosses it diagonally. So from that area, they can watch all the way down both sides. They could watch down this other trail. They could see up on the hills of the single track trail. They have a perfect vantage for a lot of activity in one area. You know what I mean? So it's very strategic.
I think
where they hang out.
Yeah, where they put their watchers, where they place everyone. We actually have more activity or as much activity during the day as we do at night. Part of the reason we don't do more night videos isn't fear-based at all, but a light issue, because ours absolutely detest that light. They tolerate the IR light.
I don't know if the camera's anywhere close to here. I was going to show everybody what our night camera setup was, but it's just a basic made not in the USA IR night camera. It's got one single bulb on the front, and then I've got a little...
It's like a flashlight?
Little flashlight, a little IR light. It doesn't put out enough light to penetrate more than 10 or 15 feet out.
And it's very frustrating because we know that our viewers can't see even as much as we can see. So,
and I've tried different IR flashlights. I just can't seem to get the distance or the width for it to show up.
I don't know.
There's a company out there called Deadlight.
Yeah.
They make custom IR lights. They're extremely expensive, but they guarantee it will go 50 yards out, and it will have a span of 40 yards wide.
We may have to check it out.
I thought about getting one of those square clusters like you would put on the CCTV.
That's what this Deadlight is, but it's custom made to what you want. You can have it as small as you want, as big as you want. He custom makes them to the order, but they're expensive.
Try to rework it so it would run on battery instead of having to be plugged in.
All right.
Yeah, this runs off of a battery. Scott has an IR, a Deadlight.
A Deadlight, right?
We started playing with something new out there.
Yeah, this is kind of cool. I'm going to shine it on the wall behind us.
We actually had it for the paranormal work for, I don't know if you can see it.
Oh, yeah, that's the dots.
But it's green.
The dots.
And we've taken it, we've been testing it with them to see their mood with it.
Yeah.
The way they hate the white light, we thought, well, let's see what their reaction is. And so we took it out, and actually I was getting EVP out there at the same time. But they moved right in on us on that sensor. They were like right almost on top of us to see what it was. They were so fascinated with it.
And they come up so close now that it just drains the
our
battery.
So we have a whole new issue. But you can't win for losing. But I was stepping up into that grid light. It was on the edge of the tree line just to show them it wouldn't hurt them. And we're pretty sure it was Junior that was coming through on the EVP again, or on there he calls himself Joe because of it's easier for him to say, I think. But it's Junior. And I said, you want me to step up there again? And he said, shirt. But the shirt that I had on, it was super reflective on the material. And so I guess he was fascinated because I had a lot of color in my shirt, and then those lights hitting it on top of that, it was creating a really weird optical thing for him. And
that's cool.
but we couldn't get them to step into it yet, so we were trying to get them comfortable with it to see if they would play with us and explore, but we'll see. I know they don't like the white lights, so it's not going to be
it was my first experience of seeing one was a big bright white LED light, and it just froze like a deer in the headlights. It wouldn't move.
I think it hurts them. I think it's kind of like us looking directly into sunlight. There's something about it that feels
right. It immediately turned its head, but just enough to get the light out, but not enough to take its eyes off of me. Right. You know what I mean? And like I said, it got to the point to where I started, okay, I got to let it go because something bad's about to happen if I don't turn this light off. Yeah. So I turned the light off without taking the night vision off. As soon as I did, gone. Yeah. And then last time we went up there, we had tapping on the window at 4 a.m. Donk, 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 donk. Oh, our dog Nugget, we call him Pillow Puppy because he piles in the pillows and he just buries himself in the pillows. He was buried in pillows behind us. He didn't see nothing. Monkey was in his bed. Monkey has never slept with us overnight ever, a day in the life since we've had him in 12 years. Always slept in his own bed overnight. And after that, not tapping on the window, he insisted on sleeping right between me and my wife for the entire time we were still up there. And
yeah, that's our knucklehead.
As soon as we got back to Klamath Falls, Idaho, he was right back in his bed. Mm-hmm. So he saw whatever was tapping on the window, and then there was a big hand streak on the window too. So big hand streak in the tub. That's on my my Northern Idaho Forest Ninjas channel. That's all documented on there. So, and then there was a kill box in the backyard where they had taken a bunch of trees, and there was a tractor trail from where they had. He's on a logging. He's a tree farm.
Let him out before he has a bit.
So, my father-in-law lives on a tree farm, and they had logged his property. So there was a tractor trail going down and then swooping out into the backyard behind the barn. Well, they had taken all the trees and busted them down into this kill box, and right next to it was all these trees into a teepee structure. Well, right into the back of that teepee structure was a trail that went down and around and stuff, and it went right up into someone's garden. And I'm thinking that they were running deer down that trail, pouncing on them, and then taking them back through that teepee to the trail. There was also a tree that had been, you could tell the way it was growing, and it had been bent to the side and wedged behind another tree. A lot of stuff that I found there, and it's all documented on my Northern Idaho Forest Ninjas channel, and I only post stuff on that channel when I'm in Idaho, Yeah,
eventually I'd love to check out some of that Northern Territory, not just Idaho, but like Alaska. And I know they're supposed to be mean in Alaska, and they probably are, and I feel like they're much larger.
Yeah.
But it has something to do with the environment, the climate, and, body
oxygen levels.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They were giants.
Yeah. I don't think they're anything to mess around with if they're not in a good mood.
Like the ones on my father-in-law's property, they just seem to hang out there now. I don't get the feeling that they're mean. I almost get the sense of curious and playfulness. Now that they know us and they know that I know about them, it's become almost a game.
I had heard or read somewhere once that those that were in Idaho had the kind of personality that you're describing, but the ones in Montana were more like
aggressive.
Yeah, like the Gugwe type.
Right.
Which I thought was really odd.
I've heard the same thing because the panhandle of Idaho is only 80 miles wide. It ain't that big.
Do we think the Bigwoods are really Sasquatch? Or, I don't know. I had the weirdest thought one day. Not me, but about trolls.
It could be misidentification.
I don't know, but it seemed to me that if they're primarily active at night and there's the rock, what do they call them? Like the rock beds or boulder fields?
Right.
Something about, I don't know.
Right.
I haven't figured out the visual yet, but it seems like they're a totally different creature than what you've got there in Idaho. Maybe that's why the division, maybe those that are in Idaho said, you stay on your side, I'll stay on this side.
But the impression I get at the ones on my father-in-law's property is, like I said, curious and playful. I had put a game camera out, and they had cut a tree off at about 6 feet high, and I put apples on it. Put the game cam out 15 yards away, and I could hear on the other hill. He's in a little like valley. He's got hills on both sides. So I put the trail cam and the apples out on one side, and I hear a bunch of commotion on this hill. So I take the apples and the camera, I put it over there. The next night I hear something running back and forth on this hill. Moved it back and forth for 5 days to a point to where I just went, screw it, I'm done. Left the apples up there. They disappeared. No game cam. And, you know, I've had a whistling contest with
I was
one.
going to ask you about whistling, or maybe anybody that's in the chat. Obviously, we tried it. We can't whistle. Not for a nickel. We are not whistlers. But this morning, they were saying they make this funny sound sometimes that we pick up on video, and it's like tongue clacking. It's like, and this morning I felt like trying it, and I've never had the inclination to try it before. So I thought, well, maybe, I don't know. I hope that's not offensive to him, or why I would have had the thought, you know. Obviously, they weren't too impressed with our whistling. I wasn't. I just wondered if anybody else had tried it or had response.
Well, I've discussed, you know, my whistling in my area here because I want them to associate me with that whistle. So at a distance, if I whistle, they know it's me. You know what I mean? And they know that I'm there, and they're not going to get freaked out or anything. You know what I mean? So that's why I do the whistle in my area here. But in northern Idaho, I was actually out working on my father-in-law's dump truck, and I was cutting in some holes in the bumper for some of those LED lights, and I'm using a grinder. You know, those grinders make a real high screeching sound and stuff like that. 7 o'clock in the morning, so I'm cutting holes and stuff, getting these things fit, and I put the light up here, and I hear this. Heck, it must have been a bird. Go back to grinding a little bit more, and I stop and I fit the light, and I hear it again. And okay, that's odd. So I go to the other side, I start cutting the hole for that one, and I stop and I hear it again. Well, okay, that's enough. I get my phone out, and I didn't walk outside. Okay, the dump truck would barely fit in the barn, so I had the nose of it in the barn, and I had a 1.5 foot wide gap between the wall and the dump truck. I stayed behind the wall and just stuck my phone out, and I whistled back, and it whistled. I whistled again, it whistled, and it went back and forth like that for, almost 3 minutes on video.
I didn't want to get anything like an emergency whistle or a playground whistle, because to me,
it's not natural.
It's not natural, and it hurts me, that trail, you know, if I hear too much of it. So I couldn't see that it'd be a good thing.
Right. I was just naturally whistling back and forth, and it would whistle back. And it was, I got the 2.5 minutes of it on video, but it had happened 5 minutes before I turned the video on. And they're, like I said, playful and curious in that area.
Yeah.
They were having a garden built, like posts put in and boxes, cedar boxes, and the landscaper needed help. So I'm like, well, I'll help you, So my father-in-law had gone and got a dump truck full of this organic soil and dumped it on a tarp. And we were using a smaller tractor to fill the boxes. And we're doing that. And we hear this crack. Sounded like a baseball bat against the tree. And even the landscaper pulled up next to me. He's like, did you hear that? And I'm all, yeah. What'd it sound like? And he's all, it sounded like someone hit a baseball bat against the tree as hard as they could. Oh, yeah, that's what I heard. And of course, I'm not bringing up the subject to him. I'm just, yeah, that's what I heard, So we go about our business, and he's driving around and stuff. All of a sudden, he stops and just looks up the hill. And literally to a point to where he turned the tractor off and was just staring. And he doing this. I walk, what's up? Figure something had broken on the tractor or something was going wrong. So, something on that hill. Look between those trees. You see that? And I'm all, oh yeah, we got a watcher. And he looked at me and he's all, watcher? And I'm all, yeah, a watcher. And he just started the tractor up and went right about his business. He didn't engage in the conversation again because
didn't want to know.
Well, I think he knew, but he didn't want it to be
what he
real for him. You know what I mean?
Right.
If I acknowledge it, then it's really real.
So they're every once in a while, out of the corner of our eye, we'd see a black streak right through the tree line. And he brought it up to me also. He's like, dude, every once in a while, dude, out of the corner of my eye, I see something black, just super fast through the trees. And I'm all, yeah, that's them. He's all, them? And I'm all, yeah, them.
Plural.
And again, just started the tractor up and went about his business. And he didn't want to it's like he almost didn't want to realize that, holy crap, these things are real. They were just watching what we were doing. I mean, I was working on the dump truck and making all this noise. We're building these gardens and stuff like that. They were just curious, but it was cool that he noticed it. You know what I mean? I knew what it was. I knew exactly what it was. I didn't tell him about the tapping on the window we had that morning, but they're
That's freaky when you have something not tapping but scratching. When I was telling my encounter when we went to Kasatchi National Forest, we had one around the camp that we rented. It was house camp, whatever. And I was sleeping in the bedroom, and the bed was by the window. And when I heard, I'm like, what is that? Scott hollered out, it's a rat. No, it's not no rat, dude. I heard it drag its hand across the wall. And that's why I asked you about the bad vibes, because whatever it was that was out there was setting off this vibe that was like, it was like doom. It was like boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. And it was just something that it put out that, go away.
Yeah.
Get away from me.
Like that vibe where it's like, yeah, I don't want to do nothing with you.
Right.
Now, there's the different hertz levels of the infrasound that they'll use that creates a different reaction. 18 hertz is the one that they'll use to create fear and dread, like that
17, 18,
like that ghost over your shoulder kind of feeling.
You did a whole video on that. You went through all of it.
The lower that it goes, the more dreadful it becomes. Around 8 to 10 hertz, it can literally put you in a catatonic state.
And five is almost lethal if you're overexposed to 5. I mean, it is just
your normal ear won't hear the sound, but your body will feel the vibration off of it, kind of like that humming that you would get off of a piece of machinery a distance away, and you can feel that vibrational hum.
And after so long,
Right.
you just can't hardly stand it anymore.
Right.
You know,
I'll tell you what.
they dose it out, you know, in a much more intense manner, especially if they feel threatened.
I'll tell you what. When I came around that bush and Fletch growled at me, the growl wasn't loud because there was people on the trail that didn't hear it, and they were 40 feet away from me. It wasn't loud, but my ribs vibrated.
Mm-hmm.
The guts inside me, I could feel vibrating, and I
Right.
just went, "Wow!" And it jumped. I don't think I've jumped that far in my life. I mean, it was a sidestep jump, 8 feet, you know. But I'm just like thinking, "Oh, you got to be kidding me! Are you serious? They're up here? You got to be kidding me!" And
Well, even sensing these, I don't know if they're passers through or if they're there to stay, but these new ones, you know, that we've picked up on, we never have yet gotten blasted or anything from them. I mean, they're not very courteous, but they're not hateful. So I don't know. You know, we're just kind of watching them right now to see. But
maybe they're just trying to
blasted. You know it.
establish. Maybe they're just trying to establish their position within everybody at this moment.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah. Figure out where they fit in the pecking order.
Yeah.
And Christy, that's not the only thing that you had with the scratching and the infrasound. Didn't you have another experience when you were at Falk? You guys went out there.
Yes, I actually got a picture of one. The first time I've been out to Folk, I went and met Lady in the Woods, D. Sims, and we all had. It was supposed to be like a 5-day thing or a 4-day thing, but I couldn't make it because I was going on another expedition with Bigfoot Explorer next weekend. But the next morning when I got up, I felt something watching me. And I turned and I looked and I call him Redface. And in fact, I got the picture. Y'all want to see it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that bright red spot right there, huh?
Yeah.
Yep. Wait, hold on. My friend just. Yep.
Bright red spot.
That's his face, and that's his. He was standing by the tree.
He's all ginger, isn't he?
Yeah, I call him Redface. He was just looking at me, and I got like 5 different pictures of his face turning, like you know.
But there's something special about us redheads. I'll tell you that.
I
think of 1% of the world, and then you get a redhead with green eyes, and is left-handed like myself. Oh man, I'm a freak of nature. Let me tell you.
I used to be almost the same shade of red as you.
Yeah.
Now it's all turned white. But
mine's getting that way. The back of my beard is getting old. So that's life, you know.
But I've had in Arkansas by Folk, we had the rocks thrown at us, and then we saw the eye shine. You know, we got a few little whoops.
What color was the eye shine?
Yeah.
Well, when I seen it, it was like an amber color, but it turned, and I seen a little red in it. But when there was like, let's see, me, Scott, Patrick, Shorty, and the 2 landowners. There was 6 of us. Well, when we walked around on the other side, where I originally seen the eye shine, that same batch of woods, because we was on the levee system. And as we walked around, it might have been the same one. When it came down, and Patrick and Shorty was ahead, and then the landowner, wife, and then me, and then the landowner with Scott behind us. As we came around, they saw the red eye shine. He's like, there it is. It's red. It's red. So
knock on wood, we've never seen red. I hope we don't.
I didn't see the red. See, it was amber with me. It was looking when it turned, which was like I said, it was like a foot across, and the eyes were shaped like cashews. Like it was weird, you know, not like us. It was like this.
Was that in that same time period that you got the pictures of the red one?
No, this was a different time area. Yeah. No, I didn't. I actually took pictures of the landowner's property, and I've got some what they consider blob squatches, but I wish I had something that can, like this, have a clear face like this one, But
It's hard. It's hard to
it's
get
hard to catch them. I mean, that's
And
about as clear as you could get it,
Ken, Rachel, will you explain the blurry pictures, please?
Yeah, it's the vibrations.
Yeah, it's their frequency.
Yeah.
Their vibrational rate is so high that they oscillate much faster than we do.
Yes.
And part of that is in 3D, we traditionally have to, thinking of the easiest way to explain it, we have had, excuse me, I'm being corrected. It's changing, but we have had certain parameters with which to work by way of our conception of time, space,
Realm.
physical manifestation, the hologram, that we live in.
Mm-hmm.
That a lot of physicists say that something doesn't exist except by what you perceive.
Mm-hmm.
That in the realm of matter, it's not actually there except what you anticipate seeing. So it can get pretty quantum pretty quick. But, the way that we've seen it is they move so fast. That's why I have to slow my videos down to like 0.25, and you can see everything clearly when you do.
If you've ever had one of the old metal tuning forks and hit it on something and you can feel the vibration, if you try to focus your eye on that vibration, it's all blurry. But that's the way that they are or appear a lot of times on the camera. One thing to remember, and this applies to everything beyond Sasquatch. Everything from you to a rock, the chair that you're sitting on, the table, the bed. It might look like it's solid, but no atom touches another atom. There is an empty space between everything, even if it appears to be solid. And if it's vibrating at a high enough rate, you can see through it.
Mm-hmm. So a lot of the cloaking and the things that we pick up on, by their perception, because of the way that they see, the speed with which their frequency works, it doesn't look the same to them as it does to us.
Right.
And
right.
I think I'd use the example, like if you were a snail and had an apple sitting in front of you or something sitting in front of your little snail trail, and this wonderful human came and picked it up, the snail would swear that the apple disappeared. But it didn't. It's that the snail is moving so slowly that it can't perceive what's actually happening to the apple. It's a lot like that with our relationship with these people. We can't easily, unless it's easier for us to raise our vibration, to raise the oscillation of our energy, than it is for them to slow theirs down. If we actually see these people in physical form, now the ones that are what I call class 3, the more negative, might be a little different because they're working in a different construct of energy. But I'm talking about our mid-grade and high-grade Sasquatch people. For them to slow down enough to bring that vibration down is almost painful. That's the same reason that we don't walk with angels anymore and be able to see them. Our vibration changed, not theirs. We have to raise ours, and it can be done. It's just, there's a little process involved. But I've got a standing joke with a couple of people about, because they become easier to see. Once you learn what you're looking for, they become easier to see. And I just joke about getting my Squatch glasses on. I have to change my vision. I don't have to change them. I have to change me.
Right. Yep.
But that's the easiest way to explain it if you understand energy and the vibration,
Right. Well, I wanted you to explain that because in past podcasts, I've actually made the comment that I love blob squatch pictures because I know how they operate. You know, I know how the camera reacts to their vibration. I love blob squatch pictures because...
Well, here's a challenge for people that like to put puzzles together. If you're seeing a blob squatch, just try to compress it and connect those dots. What you're seeing is the expanded vibrational view. If you condense it back into...
It's like pixelation on a picture. You know how when you enlarge that picture, how it pixelates? It would be similar. If you were able to bring it down into a more condensed form, it would be much easier to see.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. They're masters.
Yep, they are masters at disguises, you know? They have to be.
Absolutely.
Because there's too many people in the world that want to hurt them.
Well, and Anku, I'm getting ready to do another video because his last communication, I'm going to say. It's like,
sure, it's not transmission.
Pick the right word here. Was actually, you know, due to the nature of the world right now, the people are very afraid. And we're going to start seeing, if you go into an area that you normally feel very welcome or at least not threatened, you may see a change in their demeanor because unless they really have a super bond with you, unless they really know you and trust you, they're afraid of you right now. And it's vibrational, and they almost cannot, they're having a really hard time existing in this earth plane right now, vibrationally. You know, they can do it, but they may have to retract in order to do it.
Right.
And I don't think it's going to make them more violent or anything, but I think it's going to create a little gappage where we might have just been actually breaking through.
They're just going to be creating a little bit more distance.
A lot more standoffish, like going to the amusement park and this ride is closed, you know?
Right. Right. We discussed that a little bit this morning.
Yeah. So if you go to an area and you see physical differences in the path that you normally walk, or, you know, if you see signs that are just a little different, it could be them trying to create barriers or trying to create a better sense of protection for themselves. Yeah. If they have that trust with you, I don't feel like you're not welcome in that area. I would probably go back to square one and just make sure they're okay with you coming in, even if you're longtime friends. I did that this morning, just to make sure.
Yeah. Yeah, every time I walk in and stuff, I always say, "Hey, I'm here." You know,
I just want to make sure we're on the same page, right?
Sharon Guy wanted to know if anyone ever saw eye shine that looked like light bulbs, and we have. You know, just look like bright white, like
that's
two flashlights looking at you.
Like
that's
small.
Exactly the eye shine I saw in northern Idaho. It was like two light bulbs that were lit up, bright white light bulbs, but didn't emit any light to the surrounding area like a light bulb would. That's exactly the eye shine I saw.
Yeah.
So
it seemed to me the ones that I saw were white, and then on the very, very edge of them, I was picking up green or just a piece, but they were too tall to be a natural animal. They were way up, you know, and but most of them were just white.
Right. I've never seen any red eye shine.
Not you know,
I've seen big feller. I mean, the perfect color would be butter yellow. But they weren't big. It's almost like I had disturbed him taking a nap. Like he was just kind of waking up a little bit. He had that squinty little eyes, and then he blinked, and I went, "I'm out." So,
you know, I think the eye shine too is kind of in line with what each individual one's eye is like, because some of them have a small pupil, some of them have a really, really large pupil.
Some of them seem to be amber-eyed.
However the light hits it is going to make a different way that their eyes would shine in the light.
Right. And I think the light that you're using can also alter the color that you see.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because there's different light spectrums. I mean, it all may look white to us, but it's emitting more of a blue or more of a red. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's different spectrums of types of lights. So.
All right.
Well,
we're at hour and 36 minutes.
Yeah, we made up for that 30 minutes.
Yeah, we made up for. I apologize to y'all and everybody else. I am so sorry. We're just trying to get it. It was just different. What happened was it was going into my email instead of Lewis's email. So that's why when the first time we got on, I couldn't broadcast because I didn't have nothing set up.
Well, on the upside, you conquered, you killed the dragon, so you did it.
You made it.
And if that's the worst thing that happens to all of us today, it's been a really great day.
It's been a really good day. Yeah.
It worked out. The internet was working for us. We got on here. I told Lewis, I said, look, he told me, he says, my computer's down. You're going to have to be the one to run the show for me. I'm like, Lewis, I don't know what I'm doing.
Well, you do now.
Yeah.
So,
you do now.
like I said, technical difficulties. But guess what?
I bet the next time you get in the driver's seat, you'll go right to it.
Right.
Damn.
Right.
I have it down last now.
There you go.
I mean, like I said, me and computers are just like this. My daughter helped me figure out how to go live on my channel.
Yeah.
And I did it like twice. And I went to do it again, and for the life of me, can't remember how. I just don't understand them. I mean, I just don't get it. So
it'd be simple, like I said, if they would come up with a easy system,
a little more
click on, add people, just add, and you pop up on a thing, and then bam.
Simple terminology would definitely help me. You know what I mean?
Exactly. Instead of paste this, put it there, open that, close that, open that, close that.
Right.
Mash the red button.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Like the commercial for, what is it? Office Depot.
Right.
The red button.
Easy button. The easy button.
Yeah.
So.
Y'all stay on before when I end the broadcast. So.
All right,
everybody.
All right, everybody.
You've all got to delve into the crazy side of my experiences and my wonderful helpers, Ken and Rachel King.
We kept it pretty tame tonight.
I was going to say we're behaving.
Yeah, I mean, there's Rachel talking to Mercy and Ken's help. Oh no, you need to. Give me the location and stuff like this and give me a suggestion. I don't think I would have such a great relationship as I do now.
People always ask about the dog if he sounds off whenever he hears Junior out there in the backyard messing around.
Silent.
That's what you see right there. That's 90% of his day.
And you know what's weird is in my area, there's hundreds of dogs walking up and down. Not one of them picks up on anything. And I mean, they're 20 feet away at some points. You know what I mean? So
he'll hear them and he will stand and he's just like a statue and he just watches.
Stares out there.
But never sounds off and he never whimpers or runs back in.
My dog Joe
or threaten him.
My dog Joe was like that with deer. His nose would hit the ground and I would just follow him. He would stop, sit down, and stare. And when you focus, you'll see a deer literally 20 yards out. Wouldn't bark, wouldn't whimper, wouldn't do nothing. But
well, that's what I thought it would be. Maybe at first was a deer or something like this, but it's something. I don't know. His reactions are just a little bit different, or I don't know. Just his whole demeanor is different, and I have to go to him to pull him back in. Whereas normally, if I say I'm going in, he's right behind us.
Right.
It's just
Right. It's like he wants to keep focused on what he's watching to make sure he knows where it's going and it ain't going the way he's going to go.
I'm afraid. But he hasn't. I don't know if he's had a big hairy toe right in his face yet.
Yeah. No.
It'd be like this.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
One smell of that, he might be fixed for life.
Yeah.
If anybody knows the tradition of any kind of bulldog, then it would be a real competition between them.
Right.
Folks, I guess we probably need to wrap it up. We appreciate all of you coming in.
Good company.
Hit the like, share, subscribe. Tell your friend. Have your friend tell their friend. Tell another person.
Yeah.
Get them in here. We need to get some subscribers on this channel.
Yeah, and if anybody's got stories, you can reach out to SoCal Forest Ninjas. Is it ninja or ninjas plural on your email?
It's plural, ninjas, more than one.
At hotmail.com.
Yeah, Hotmail. I am not the ninja. My name refers to the forest people because they are the forest ninjas. The term of endearment.
Visual of you and your.
The term of endearment. I am not a ninja. I am not one of the loudest things out there. Let me tell you. I'm surprised people haven't heard me out there yet. Going, who's that guy in the bushes over there?
Your official job title now is produce courier.
Right. Delivery boy.
We tried once upon a time to be stealthy until we realized that as soon as they heard us get back there, they were right there anyway. So we weren't sneaking up on anybody.
Yeah, I don't even try. I just walk right up to the edge and go, hey guys, I'm here. Brought you some more apples.
Yeah.
Going over there, so
yeah,
you ain't going to hide from them. So,
I hope everybody has a good night.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everybody have a good night.
All right.
We're out. Y'all stay.
All right. We stay? Okay.
I'm ending broadcast. Bye, everybody.
bye.